He has three. Yeah. He has three insurances. Yeah, and he's still wrong. Oh, here's a year or so ago. Oh no.
Congregation would please rise. Thank you. Please be seated. Friends and family, thank you so much for joining us as we celebrate the life of Opal Renee Craig. In loving memory of Opal Renee Craig, born December 4th, 1938 in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and passed away on August 10th, 2023 in Eagle, Idaho. This funeral service is being held on Friday, August 18th, 2023 at 11 a.m. at Coltrane Mortuary in Idaho Falls, Idaho. The family prayer was offered previously by Wallace Cummings, a brother-in-law, and the families asked that I, Troy Clayton, conduct these services. I'm honored and humbled by that request. We thank Catherine Cummings and niece for the prelude and postlude music. I will announce most of the program now. The opening song will be sung by Opal's granddaughter Cassie and her husband Seth Huber. They will sing Come Home, and they will be accompanied by Catherine Cummings. The invocation will then be given by a niece, Heidi Graybill. At that point, we will have a tribute of Opal's life from the perspective of her sisters, Shauna Cummings and Shirlene Bird. Then a tribute from her sons, Doug Craig and John Craig, and then a tribute from her granddaughters, Shayna Bedingfield and Jessica Watts. We will go to that one in the program.
Father in heaven, we are so thankful to be gathered together today as those who love Opal Craig. We're grateful for her life. We're grateful that we have been touched by her love and her kindness. We are thankful for our families, for the love and support of all those around us. We are thankful for this opportunity to celebrate Opal and her life, to show her and her family our love. We're so thankful for our Savior, for the plan that He has provided that we can be with her again. That she can be joined with her husband, her son, and her loved ones. We are so grateful to remember. Please bless those who participate this day, that they will have thy Spirit to with them, that they will find the peace and comfort in being here. Please bless Opal's family with our love. Know that we are here for them, to love and support them, to care for them, help them to feel the love, and the peace and comfort that they need, not only today, but going forward. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
When Doug and John asked me to give some remarks about Opal, I didn't think I could do it, but then I thought to myself, this is the last thing I could do for her, to show her how much I loved her. Opal Renee Bondi Craig was born on December 4th, 1938 in Autumn Falls at the LDS Hospital to Dean and Ella Powley. She is the first of 7 children. For Dean, Colleen, Marcine, Larry, Opal, Sherman, and Shauna. She grew up on a farm in Iona. Living on the farm was hard work. Larry says that Opal would find reasons and excuses not to go outside to work, do farm work, but she would stay in and do her housework. When Sherman and Bob was little and Dean was dating, he always had guns around to keep his breath fresh. Opal and Shirley loved to sneak into his room and get his gum. When Opal was little, she had long, beautiful hair. One day, Colleen, her sister, took her to get her hair cut and done with a perm. She had no idea what was going on. And when she got home, she cried and cried because her beautiful hair was gone. She had this perm that wasn't very pretty. When Opal and Shirley were about 4 or 5, they had really wanted dolls for Christmas. They had seen these beautiful, cute dolls. But they didn't think they would get them. However, Colleen decided. I love those boys. They're so sweet. We adorable. They didn't think they were going to get the dolls. However, Colleen surprised them when I listened in the morning. They opened the dolls for them to open, and they were so excited. We had a log cabin down at the corner that we loved to play in. And we used to play store and all kinds of things. It was so fun. And we also liked to sit on the branch and stick our feet in the water. We used to pick the fruits off the trees in the orchard that we have down in the orchard in the corner by the cabin. And we loved to eat them, and we had all different kinds of fruits, apples. And so we'd eat them, and then we'd end up being sick. And Mom would tell us, do not eat all the apples. Opal would help Mom put up food. We all would herd cows and whole beets and baked potatoes. After the farm, after we were done with our work for the day, Opal would braid my hair and we would sit and listen to Gunsmoke on the radio because we didn't have TV at that time. So it was fun to listen to the radio and hear Gunsmoke. When Opal was a beehive in Young Women, she went to girls' camp at Darby. There was a bad storm and she didn't go on the hike with the rest of the girls. Tragedy struck and some of the girls died in the lightning storm with the ice caves. I think that it was when Opal's testimony really grew. Opal liked nice things and she'd work hard and pick sacks of potatoes as fast as she can because she wanted to earn as much money so she could get these jams and sweaters. At the time, these jams and sweaters were the top, and of course, she always had the dress just perfect. She always had the best. She loved to get dressed up and go with her friends. She had a group of girls, friends that she ran around with and remained friends throughout her life. She loved going to dances and was in the pep club and loved to cheer for sports. Opal was very soft-spoken, very studious, and did very well in school, and she loved school. She would come home, help mother with the housework, and then she'd pull out and start studying her homework. She also liked drama and sometimes would be in plays, and we loved to see and go see her be in the plays. In 1955, Daddy bought a new car and we took a trip to New York to see the pageant. We got to see the pageant, Radio City, and church sites. Opal got to drive the new car and she thought that was great because she got the privilege and she was still pretty young. I think she was 16 or 17. She graduated from Bonneville High School in 1957 and went to Ricks College. Later, she moved into town, and we moved into town, and Opal lived upstairs in an apartment on K Street and started working at an insurance company. I remember her having her apartment. She had a bedroom out there actually, and had bought furniture. I loved to go up there because on her Chester door, she'd have all these different perfumes and nail polish. I loved that. I was still a teenager at the time, and I just loved it. And we had so much fun together. Yes, you may say anything you want.
I love to be with Opal because I tag along with her and she'd be, I don't know if she liked it very well, but she took me. And I just loved her. We had a neighbor down the street that was Eva, and we'd go back in there was a swimming pool back there, a little sand creek, and we'd go there and we'd go swimming. And I'd tag along a long time with her friends, and then she had a friend, Elaine Motley, that was really close, and we'd go over there on Sunday, and they had bread and milk, and I tagged right along with her, and I guess she put up with me. She was so sweet. She was always soft-spoken, loving to me. I loved the way she loved her schooling and she loved music and all those many things in her life. And I love her so much, and I'm glad she can be with her husband and mom and dad. I'm grateful for my family and thankful for her life, and I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Opal was a very good example to me, and she was very, very strong in the gospel. She loved the gospel, she loves the family. I'm so thankful for the many years that I have together with Opal. We don't only friends, sisters, but we're friends. We did so many fun things together. And I'm just so grateful for her, and I will miss her so much. But I'm glad she's with her, Dave and Steve, my mom and dad.
I really did appreciate her testimony too. strong testimony, and it sure helped me gain a testimony more. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
So Doug and I approached this with a little bit of small amount of regret, inviting her sisters, mom's sisters, to speak in the program, because that's mean-spirited, especially at a time when feelings are so tender and close to the surface. But there's a legacy in the family and a closeness that really really demanded that they have an opportunity to have a voice and get the opportunity and allow others to share some of that experience. And I do need to bring up one thing also about high school. Mom's always proud of being one of the founding honeybees. And so I know that partying group of her graduating class of 57, I am speaking really loudly, I thought.
The video doesn't pick it up unless the mouse by the mic. Sorry.
Wow.
Julie wants to hear you on the Zoom.
Wow. Okay. Well, you know, yeah, I've coached a lot, and nobody's ever complained about me not being. I get it. That's good. Anyways, Mom was one of the founding honeybees. She was really proud of that as well. Part of that fun graduating class of Mom. And so.
Yeah. We want to thank you all for being here today, and we do want to thank Mom's sisters for being willing to do that tribute to her. It means a lot to us, and I know that it means a lot to my mom. She would be so pleased that you all came to celebrate her life today. John and I would like to take a few minutes to just share with you our perspective about what it was like for with our mom in terms of her role as our mother.
So we will be sharing some of the important life lessons that we learned from Mom. There are so many lessons to choose from that we could go on at length, but as Mom was wont to say, it's good for now.
Let's start with the life lessons of responsibility and frugality. One of the ways that we were taught a sense of responsibility was through our being assigned weekly chores. We were each responsible for cleaning our rooms, and some of us were a little more diligent than others. I also remember taking out the garbage cans out to the sidewalk each week for the trash pickup from the time I was 7 years old. We were all expected to just pitch in with other chores, like doing the dishes after Sunday dinner. I remember after Sunday dinners, my dad would recline against the back door with his head propped up and say, "Boys, time to help your mom with the dishes." And of course we did. We loved Mom's Sunday dinners of delicious roast beef, whipped to perfection mashed potatoes, famous for her potatoes, and peach jelly dessert. Mom also taught us the lessons of frugality. She diligently checked the newspaper for coupons to save money, and she would definitely hold off buying certain items that were on her list when she thought the price was too high at the time. Fortunately, she wasn't so frugal that we couldn't talk her into buying a box of those animal crackers from time to time on our trips to Buttry's grocery store. She also taught us to save our money so we could purchase some bigger items and put a portion in a bank account to pay for our missionary service when the time came. In fact, instead of us having piggy banks, we had bear banks with a bear hugging a beehive.
Other life lessons taught were to follow the rules and be mindful of manners. Mom taught us to follow the rules as part of being considerate to others and being a good citizen. She led by example too. Mom never failed to take back even a few pennies back to the cashier at the grocery store when given back too much change, even when inconvenient to do so. Our parents also took the opportunity to teach us to be good sports when playing board games or competing in sports. It was okay to be competitive, but equally important to keep the peace and get along. I don't know if any of you can remember the board game Booby Trap, but that game certainly gave us three boys lots of opportunities to learn to get along and keep the peace. And pick up pieces from the floor. That's true. That's true. Spring-loaded game that would explode, kind of. I'm not sure it was Mom's favorite game. I can say that all of my kids, have been swept off the board during one of Grandma's giddy slides when playing Sorry. And yeah, game night was the best way to see the mischievous twinkle in her eye and glimpse the playful side lurking beneath her calm exterior. I still associate popcorn with board games and realize this is Mom's influence.
Mom also emphasized good manners, which I'm sure was a bit of a struggle with three young boys, though she persevered. We were reminded to say please and thank you, and she reminded us to chew our food with our mouths closed and to slow down some, which was a tall order for us young boys who just wanted to get back outside and play. From her, we learned over time to wait our turn, ask permission, raise our hand, avoid name-calling, offer to help, and express gratitude. While these may seem like basic manners, the world would be a better place if people were more consistent in practicing these simple graces. Next comes the life lesson of an appreciation for structure and order. Mom's appreciation for structure and visual order is something that I believe came very naturally to her. She has kept a very neat and tidy home for as long as I can remember. Everything had its place inside the house, and I think she did her best not to think too much about the garage, which was Dad's domain. The house we built on Georgia Lane took a few years to complete even after we moved in, and there was considerable clutter in the basement while we worked on finishing it. Every once in a while, I would spend the whole day cleaning. I would spend the whole day cleaning up a section of the basement very thoroughly because I knew how much she would appreciate it. I am not sure that I ever saw my mom be more delighted than when she saw how nice and clean it looked after the day's efforts. In fact, our connection was often through acts of service when I would complete her home repairs or maintenance or do yard work for her, even after my father passed away so many years ago. Mom also expressed her love through her efforts to give us structure. This love is, wow, I'm having a hard time reading through the tears. This love was evident in her getting up early to make breakfast for us on Monday through Friday. We got up early so that we could eat breakfast with Dad before he had to catch the bus out to the site at 6:30 a.m. We just thought that was normal at the time. Each day of the week had a designated breakfast entree. Monday was oatmeal. That was a Monday. Tuesday was pancakes or waffles, and Wednesday was bacon and eggs, while Thursday was cream of wheat. Friday was French toast. It may go without saying, we appreciated the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday entrees just a little more.
So, in addition to breakfast, Mom had dinner planned and ready every day. With Dad's rigid bus schedule, food was ready at 6 p.m. We shared meals together every day, which combined two favorite things, eating and family. When one of us had conflicts, most often a practice, performance, or game, we knew we could look in the fridge and find our dinner plate loaded and covered with plastic, waiting for us to get home and enjoy it. Only as an adult can I get a glimpse of understanding of the love that such efforts required.
Mom also taught us to seek out learning and to do a good job at any work that we took on, any task we took on. Mom encouraged us to value learning and encouraged us to do well in school. She praised us for getting good grades, and she let us know how nice it was to get good reports from our teachers while attending parent-teacher conferences. Her penchant for reading was apparent throughout her life, as we often saw our mother with her nose in a book. Another way she encouraged us to value reading and learning was through our regular trips to the children's section in the basement of the Idaho Falls Public Library. She taught us to be quiet and respectful at the library, to be considerate of the other people around us. We may have first been drawn to the hamster cage that was in the children's section of the library, but our attention then turned to the books, and we too became avid readers. As a bonus, we got to finish each library outing with a trip across the street to the pharmacy and convenience store that sold penny candy. Public speaking skills were also encouraged. Mom listened patiently to us as we learned and recited line after line of a story for giving a talk at church.
You know, as you mentioned, her encouraging us to get good grades, I did mention to Dad once about other kids where their parents would give them money for each A that they received in school.
We all did that.
And he looked at me like I was insane. I don't know what Mom's thoughts were on it, but he thought that was pretty silly.
Well, he thought that was pretty silly. He said, well then, you know, A stands for awful. So.
And then he'd say, I know what you're thinking, and no, I can't afford it. That's right. We memorized our talks, even before we learned to read, with her guiding us in the process. I didn't memorize this one.
I didn't hear. You have to forgive us, Mom.
Both Mom and Dad emphasized that if you're going to do something, do it well. I think the three of us have done our best to follow that advice. What do a dermatologist, a psychologist, and an engineer have in common? There's not really a funny punchline, but one answer is Mom. From a young age, I participated in sports with countless football, basketball, baseball games, as well as track meets and tournaments. Mom and Dad came to all of them, home or away. They did the same for Steve and Doug, as often I traveled with them when I was young. It brings a smile to my face to think about looking up in the stands and seeing my parents chatting away with the other parents and cheering us on. The Bonneville Booster Club knew with confidence that Dave and Opal were going to be there for all my games. So much so that I think they just assigned them to be Booster Club presidents my senior year. What an honor. My parents wanted us to find joy and success in improving ourselves and took pleasure in helping us achieve that success. Mom loved occasions and loved to celebrate the holidays. Mom was great at planning and being ready for occasions. She was a planner and prepared for the holidays well in advance. She loved to decorate her home, at least with flowers and butterflies. You should have that hint by now. She loved butterflies, and we appreciate that, and I hope you are all able to share in that. Once she was no longer to take on the rigors of the tradition she carried out when she was younger, she still loved to have the reminders of the time of year. We had fun working with her on her door decorations for her apartment to brighten the entry and commemorate this whatever season or holiday was pending. Opal Craig owned the month of December and rocked it. Christmas decorations were up and ready by the 1st, and it seemed to me all presents were wrapped and under the tree by her birthday on December 4th, which was kind of taunting, if you think about it. The presents were right there, but we celebrated. That was the way it was. When we were young, Mom made a gambit of treats, including Rice Krispie wreaths, popcorn balls, peanut butter cookies with a star chocolate chip, mint presses, fudge, and our favorite Christmas sugar cookies with Santa, tree, star, reindeer, and bell shakes. Those are like legacy cutters. It was an amazing work of art and love to see her in action, and she made it a magical time for our family. One of our favorite traditions was to have 2 Christmas trees, one artificial tree upstairs and one live tree downstairs. The one upstairs had all the fancy ornaments and had the elegance of displays at the mall or in catalogs. This was our display tree and very representative of Mom's love of order and beauty. The downstairs tree was a cut tree, lacking the perfect branch symmetry and loaded with the chaos of homemade ornaments, glitter, school projects, and unevenly distributed but abundant strings of lights placed by children. The ornaments that Uncle Wallace would make us and share at the annual Christmas progressive dinners added flair to our heart tree. This tree was representative of Mom's love of 4 males whom she kept herding down the right path.
Still another life lesson was to appreciate the humor in life. We appreciated those times when we would laugh with my mom. In recent years, her hearing has not been so good. It's a little bit of an understatement. And while she had hearing aids, she rarely wore them because the hearing aids bothered the skin on her ears. The situation led to her hearing some things that were fairly funny when she shared with us what she thought she had heard. About a year ago, I shared with Kayleen the fact that it was difficult to have to shout for her to understand me. I mentioned that Mom seemed to hear me better over the phone. Kayleen suggested that I just call her on the phone even if I was in the same room then, and when I went to visit her each week. So Mom was open to the idea, and we gave it a try. And since it worked that much better, we kept that up much of the time, though we would sometimes have to stop and chuckle about how silly it seemed.
Opal Craig has a testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. She loves the temple and cherishes the promised blessings that come from the covenants that we make there. She has looked forward to being reunited with David and other loved ones who have preceded us in passing through the veil. She encouraged her sons to work and save money to go on missions. I know she was proud of the service provided to the people of South Carolina, the Netherlands, Belgium, and in East Germany. Mom loved reading the scriptures, watching BYU TV for sports and devotionals, and looked forward to her weekly church news. Most recently, we were able to broadcast state conference, and as the state technology specialist, I made sure she had access to it. And she was thrilled by the inspiration that she found in the speakers that participated that day. I'm grateful for the faith she shared, and we celebrate her life and now her return to her Heavenly Father. Thank you so much for participating with us today.
I'm Jessica Craig, John and Sherry's daughter, and Opal's granddaughter. I love seeing all the butterflies. As kids, we would go to her house every 4th of July, and we knew we made it because we would look for the butterflies over the garage because all the condos kind of look the same, but we knew we found Grandma's house when we got to the butterflies. So we would come in, and she'd always greet us with a hug and a smile and ask us how we're doing, and then we would run down to the basement because we loved all the toys she had down there. We thought they were so cool. We also just loved to explore her basement. It had a really cool secret passageway, and we liked to check out her storage room. We were in awe at how much cereal she had down there. I thought that was really cool. I recently found out that Grandma and I both love Raisin Bran. So I think that's awesome. And then she told me that she would mix Cheerios in with it, and I told her that was where our overlap ended. So I'm not really into mixing my cereals, but she loved her Raisin Bran and her Cheerios together. Food was definitely something that we shared a love of. We would go out to eat oftentimes when we came to visit, usually to Perkins because that was one of her favorite places. Sometimes we tried to take her to a new place, but she didn't like it, like the pancakes were too big. And as high schoolers and college kids, we didn't understand how pancakes could be too big. But she would give us a hard time and sass us about finishing all of our food. I love to see Grandma's sass come out one time I called her and we were chatting, and I was telling her how I hadn't bought any dresses for Maya. I had really tried to prepare for our first baby, and I didn't buy any dresses. So what was she supposed to wear to church? I had her in like jammy onesies for a while. And I told my grandma this, and she just said in the most kind of like sassy, sarcastic, she's like, oh, that's just terrible. What are you gonna do? That's just so terrible. And I was like, I know. Like the bad first mom anyway. So she was giving me a really hard time about that, and it just was always fun to see that kind of side of her. And just love, I love her. Grateful that I got to see her. As people have shared, I think my grandma had a quiet faith. I never wondered if she believed in God, but she never like told me as such. But I could even feel like the standard that she held me to and the faith that she had, and I really admire that, to be so strong in her faith in Christ through all these years. I think it would be really tough to be without your spouse, and so I admire her strength and her courage and her faith, and I'm grateful that got to have her in my life, and I'm grateful that she gets to be reunited with our God and with her husband. Thanks.
Oh, okay. My name is Shayna Craig Bedingfield, and I'm Doug's oldest child and Opal's granddaughter. I was born just a few weeks after the death of my grandfather, Dave. I very much wish I could have met my grandfather, but I'm told that the timing of my birth laid the foundation for a special relationship with my grandma. In her time of crisis, she stepped up to fill the role of sweet grandma to her little granddaughter. As early as I can remember, Grandma would take me on special dates and sleepovers. She tells me that during my toddler years, we had the best time spending the night in her Salt Lake condo and getting breakfast at the fancy Little America Hotel Cafe. Once my family moved back to Idaho, our special dates took place in her home in Idaho Falls. I remember being just enamored with the feminine grandma decor in her peach bedroom, filled with florals, lace, fringe, ruffles, butterflies, and porcelain dolls. She let me play dress up in her high heels and pick out my favorite clip-on earrings and long beaded necklaces. We'd watch some heartfelt, wholesome movie and then crawl into bed for the night. One of our favorite movies was Anastasia, because of the central grandma-granddaughter relationship. The next morning, Grandma put in the effort to make sure we'd have plenty of activities to do. We'd work on Barbie or Anastasia puzzles and play Authors the Card Game or Yahtzee. As I got older, my younger siblings would join in on our outings, and we toured the great sights of Idaho Falls, like the museum, the library, and Blockbuster Video. The quality time spent on these dates forged a close relationship, and I've always loved her very much, even after, of course after, but it laid a foundation as I got older as a teenager, and in college when we didn't do our special dates anymore, we still had a very special connection. I will miss her brilliant smile, her warm hugs, and the way she called me hun. I will miss her playful teasing, followed by a quick wink. You can't forget her winks. She taught me to embrace femininity, wholesomeness, and tenderness. I'm proud to have inherited a bit of her smile and hope to impart the love she shared with me to my own children and future grandchildren. I have faith that we will see her again and that she can feel our love and gratitude today. The Craig family thanks you for celebrating her life with us today. Thank you.
We express our appreciation to all who have participated on the program, both in word and in music. For the last 20 years, every April I would go to Opal's home so that she could sign her tax return. I learned early on that that was not going to be a short visit. But every year as I would leave, Opal would give me a box of chocolates. This simple act of kindness illustrates the love that she had for us as individuals and the love that she has for our Savior. And as we listen to the wonderful tributes from her sisters, her sons, and her granddaughters, it's inspiring to us to know that our life was better because she brought us closer to our Savior. And I pray now that as we depart, that we will take this challenge to find opportunities for those simple acts of kindness, that we might spread the message of Christ that Opal did during her life. Our closing song will be a medley of hymns performed by Andrew Craig, a grandson, and the benediction will be offered by Dina Johnson, a close friend. Following the closing prayer, we will depart to the Iona Cemetery for the interment. The dedicatory prayer will be offered by Larry Bodley, Opal's brother. Pallbearers are Weston Craig, Jonathan Craig, Casey Craig, James Craig, Caden Craig, Andrew Craig, Preston Duarte, Seth Huber. Honorary pallbearers Doug Craig, Ben Craig, John Craig, Wallace Cummings, Sean Bedingfield, Larry Bodley. The family of Opal Craig wishes to express their gratitude for your kindness in both thoughts and deeds.
Father which art in heaven, we are so grateful to be here this day to honor Opal and to remember the good example that she has been in our lives. We're grateful for her friendship and all that she has done for each of us. We are so grateful for thy gospel and for the way of life that it teaches us that we will see her again. We ask thee to guide and protect us as we go to the cemetery this day, that all will be well. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
We ask those that are serving scholars to be as present on board once the second chance. We have the audience to rise.
They're all over. I'm the only one still. It's just me. Which one? Vicky lives in Wicked City and has a house in St. She got married. Her husband. We're just so happy. She gets
Well, okay, yeah.
north of Phoenix, about 40